This is Matthew 16, beginning in verse 21. From that time, Jesus began to point out to the disciples that it was necessary for him to go to Jerusalem and to suffer many things from the elders, from the chief priest, and from the scribes, and to be killed, and to be raised on the third day. And yet Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, God forbid it. Oh Lord, he still uses the word Lord. This shall never happen to you. But he, then Jesus, turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are not setting your mind on God's purposes, but man's. I love the way Jesus always revolved his life according to God's purposes and God's mind. So to speak of Holy Week, to speak of this celebration that is very vivid and evident all over the place, is to be reminded that this is God's eternal redemptive plan. The implication, obviously, of this plan is that Jesus is the epicenter of this plan. In other words, the plan is not simply an event. We are confined, we are limited, we are finite people, that we use the word Holy Week. And obviously, the word holy is extremely important, but the word week also reminds us that we cannot think beyond days and hours and weeks and months and things like that. And the redemptive plan of God, which comes from a God who is not limited, is not simply that He is eternal, that He is sovereign, that He is who He said He is, but He came and dwelt among us. So Jesus is rebuking Peter and reminding him, you are not placing your mind into the things of God. You are still using or being driven by your limitations. So here's what I like for you and I to remember as we move into this beautiful week of celebration, this Holy Week, is that as important as the week is, as important as we're going to go through multiple services and celebrations, obviously, Good Friday is coming up, and then many churches, many people will celebrate Saturday, and then for sure we'll get into sunrise services, and all those things are extremely important, and those are necessary reminders of the events and the promises and the fulfillment of prophecy and all these things, eventually the resurrection. But this is not just simply about what happened, but is the person that made it happen. It's who this happened to. And we're speaking of the person of Jesus. So once again, conversations like this that are recorded in the book of Matthew are the result of a person, are the result of the God of the Bible utilizing. And Jesus is going to enlist him. There's going to be elders and chief priests and scribes. They're going to be instruments of the mind of God. That's what he said at the end. You need to set your mind on God's purposes. And those chief priests, all those elders and scribes, they will fulfill the plans, the purposes of God. Holy Week is about the purposes of God. And that purpose became a person. His name is Jesus. Have a great week. God bless.